Well, what Jesus has to say about giving is utterly life-changing. Don't store up treasures on earth where they won't last. Store them up where they will last in heaven. And the way you could summarize that, and the way that I do, is what I call the treasure principle, and that is this. You can't take it with you. And everybody agrees on that one, or should. You can't take it with you. But then he adds a really shocking corollary in this passage. You can't take it with you, but you can send it on ahead. Don't lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, because they're not going to last. Lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, because you will send them before you, and they will last for all eternity. And God will be pleased and delighted. So God entrusts money to us to give to the needy that provides eternal, inexhaustible wealth in heaven. How do we know that? Well, in Luke chapter 12, Jesus says, "Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide money belts for yourselves that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will not be exhausted." Now, I recognize that giving is not an isolated subject. There's a larger picture. There's debt, there's spending, there's saving, there's many other things. In fact, I deal with all those things in my larger book, Money, Possessions, and Eternity. But the reason when I distilled it down to a single short book that I chose giving as the heart and soul of it is because giving is what moves our heart toward the things of God. And that's exactly what Jesus is telling us. And Paul reinforces it in Philippians chapter 4. Paul, the missionary, says to his financial supporters, "Not that I am looking for a gift, but I am looking for what may be credited to your account." He says that in Philippians 4:17. He says we help people, essentially, when we encourage them to give. Why? Because it's about gift credited to your account. These are all financial terms. It's like every time in our service of Christ that we make a deposit into that account, he's pleased. How do we do that? Well, Jesus said, "I will not overlook so much as the smallest cup of cold water given to one of these little ones in my name." Now, folks, don't get me wrong. We are not saved by doing any of these things. Ephesians 2:8-9. "By grace you've been saved through faith, that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, lest any man should boast." We are not saved by our works. But then we stop quoting that passage because it goes right on, doesn't it? And it says, "For we are his workmanship in Christ Jesus, created to do" what? Good works. So giving is good works, but not the kind of good works God is displeased with because they're trying to earn our salvation. The kind of good works God is pleased with because they're an extension of our salvation. They're an extension of God's grace at work in our lives.